Hello everybody, welcome to the Am IT Geek YouTube channel. My name is Shabaz Dan. As ever, I am the IT Geek. Welcome back to this SC300 Microsoft exam prep series that we're doing. We are module 2 now, so module 1 was last week and we've already started module 1. This is the second episode in module 1 where we're covering MFA settings in Azure. So before we continue with the episode, I just want to quickly introduce my co-host, Dwayne Natwick. Good morning, good afternoon, Dwayne.
Hey, yeah. Hey, Shabaz. How are you doing today?
I am not bad. How are you?
I'm doing well. Welcome, everybody, to another action-packed episode.
Yes, we're going to have, again, the same combination. I'm going to go through some theory in a second, and then followed by Dwayne. I'm going to set Dwayne up like I did last episode and give him loads of demos to go through. So let's get cracking. So, again, I introduced myself and Dwayne, you should know by now. I'd hope you know by now who both we are, so I'm not going to go through the introduction. There's me looking scared of this cloud of Module 2. And this is implementing authentication and access management solutions. Okay, so this is Module 2. Let's just go through what we're going to be talking about in this episode. So this is part 2 of planning and implementing Azure MFA. This is a topic we covered over 2 episodes, so this is the last episode in this topic. So we're going to look at configure and deploy self-service password reset. Then we're going to look at extending Azure AD MFA to third-party and on-premises devices, and then touch a little bit on monitoring Azure AD MFA activity. Okay. And then I will hand over to Dwayne, who hopefully will show us around configuring self-service password reset for your users. So let's start off with some considerations around self-service password reset, or SSPR, as I know for short. First thing we'll need to consider is does the user have a valid account? Is it an Azure AD account, either synchronized or cloud only? Because again, if it's not a valid account, it's not going to support SSPR. So you need to make sure that first of all it's a valid account. Also, which org does that user belong to? Are they part of your organization, or are they actually a guest user in another organization? Because potentially they will have already SSPR set up for their own organization. So you need to be wary of, are they in your org or a partner org? And if so, making sure you don't conflict with that partner org. Where's their password managed? Again, this is all dependent on what type of Azure AD Sync sort of solution you're using. Is their password managed on premises, or is it managed in the cloud, Azure AD? Now again, there are, now with SSPR, you can have password write back, which we're going to discuss shortly. And also the actual self-service password page itself, should that be local or should it be hosted in the cloud, or just something else to consider, again, all depending on what your organizational requirements are. Okay. So let's look at some of the modern authentication methods for single sign-on password reset. Now you're going to recognize a fair few of these. Okay, so you can enable the option to require a user to complete self-service password reset registration if they use modern authentication or a web browser to sign in to any applications using Azure AD. So the workflow includes the following applications. So the first is Microsoft 365, so obviously it includes all your SaaS apps like Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, OneDrive, and even Teams. The Azure portal also is part of that workflow, so we're talking all the IaaS and sort of PaaS elements there, virtual machines, storage, databases, etc. Azure Virtual Desktop included. Access panels, so this is the sort of different access panels within the Microsoft ecosystem. Federated applications are also part of that, so if you use any federated applications, they are also part of that workflow for single sign-on. I keep calling it single sign-on, it's self-service password reset. They are also included in that. And finally, any apps that are using Azure AD as its authentication method as well, they're also part of that workflow for self-service password reset. So, I want to looked at some modern authentication methods. Let's look at the actual authentication methods you can use for single self-service password reset. Now these are what are going to be very similar to what we looked at for MFA. So first of all, we have that mobile app notification. So this is again using your mobile device. You can get a notification on it to get you to reset your password. You can also use email. Now this wasn't part of the MFA one. It used to be a while ago, and again, because it's not deemed a secure method for MFA, it was taken off. Obviously, self-service password resets are slightly different, so it's still included as an authentication method for that. You can use your mobile phone. So again, this could be like a text message or like an application. Good old office phone. You can use this for an authentication method for self-service password reset as well. Security questions. This is also one that was originally part of MFA and back in the original days of MFA for Azure AD. Again, it was just deemed unsecure. You know, there's a good chance a lot of people are going to know your mother's maiden name or your dog's pet's first name or the street you first lived on or, you know, your favourite teacher at school and stuff like that. So, you know, it's not deemed secure for MFA, but it's still an authentication method for self-service password reset.
Yeah, and if you're going by the rules of MFA, having a password and a security question are both something you know. So,
yeah.
So you're not really using multi-factor; you're using a single factor twice.
Exactly. I think
it'll be interesting how this list, because I don't know, if everybody's read this or not, but Microsoft's supposed to be integrating the MFA and the SSPR portal here, I think in September of 2022. So it's going to be interesting if this list changes or if there's just just they're going to build in the exclusions as they are today when it happens.
For the syllabus of the exam, these are still relevant, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, as of today, these are all relevant. But just a for instance, and maybe avoid us having to edit this later on. Maybe if this is 6 months from now, if this is 6 months from now, you might want to double check the authentication methods.
10th of August 2022. Okay, this is when this was filmed for anybody. Wish I had like a newspaper I could show. One thing to note is the Office phone option is only available for tenants with paid subscriptions as well, if you want to use the Office phone option. But yeah, just to quickly mention that file, which is a mobile app code. So again, this is a code that you get within your mobile application, so the Authenticator app, rather than a notification where you can just allow or deny that self-service password reset. Let's look at some on-premises integration. So again, in this hybrid world we are living in, password write-back is supported. So again, we asked that question in a slide earlier about where is that password managed. With password write-back, it kind of mitigates where it's managed. It doesn't really matter, because if it is managed on-premises, password write-back will allow it to update Azure and vice versa. So password write-back is supported. The on-premise integration allows users to unlock accounts, be it that are stored in Active Directory or in the cloud. So as well as changing that password, you can also unlock your own account as well if it does become locked. There are also password filters for on-premises as well. So again, having integration with Active Directory rather than only having, again, in the early days of SSPR, there wasn't password write-back, so you had to change your password in Azure AD and wait for that sync. So if you change your password on premises, it wouldn't sync up. You'd have two passwords, or until that sync happened, it'd change your password back. So now there's much more integration, and that includes password filtering for on premises Active Directory. Another tool option you can have, and another integration, is that B2B user password reset. So if you are a guest in somebody's tenant, you can reset your password as well, and that'll sync back to your on-premises AD in a totally different environment. Just want to touch on extending MFA to third parties and on-premises devices and how we can integrate that and facilitate that. First is by getting hybrid device join. Okay, if it's a hybrid device joined, your Windows 10 or your laptop or device, you can then have better integration and extend out to those third-party applications and on-premises applications. Okay, so this is quite a key element. The other possible way is to integrate it with ADFS. We touched on that in the last module, when we were talking about Active Directory Federated Services. So integrating with that also allows you to extend MFA to those third-party on-premises devices. Radius clients and Azure MFA as well. So having a radius server. So this is quite heavily used when you're trying to integrate wireless, like your on-premises wireless or your third-party wireless solution with MFA, Azure MFA, and having that radius client or that radius server on premises. So this allows you to extend Azure MFA to third parties as well. Okay, last section I'm going to touch on before I hand over to Dwayne is monitoring Azure AD MFA activity. So we've got different types of activity logs, and we can integrate those with Azure Monitor. So you can archive logs to a storage account. So a storage account, you do need a subscription for that, and it's part of your Azure IaaS, infrastructure as a service sort of family. So you can archive logs from Azure AD and send them to a storage account, be it a blob storage or whatever. You can now stream activity to Azure Event Hub as well. So again, gives you that more in-depth analysis and alerting. It is possible to integrate with a third-party solution like Splunk, for example, or SCOM. So you can have that integration to send Azure AD activity logs to your third-party CM monitoring solution.
SIEM, yeah.
SIEM, that's the one. Yeah. Depends which part of the world you're from.
Depending on where you are in the world is how you pronounce that acronym.
Yeah. We've got a man with a strong Yorkshire accent here, and we've got an American accent there, so different ways of pronouncing it. You can also send logs to Azure Monitor, as I mentioned. So obviously Azure Monitor is a service within Azure that you need a subscription for, and you integrate that with Log Analytics, which is again linked to a storage account. So quickly just touch on some of this. There's two types of supported reports within Azure AD. The first is audit logs. Now this is again, sorry Dwayne, I'm going to throw it on you again. Dwayne will hopefully show us audit logs and in the demo, just quickly touch on those. That audits any sort of activity done by an admin, so any changes that are made, any sort of activity, and you can look at all that. And the other one is sign-in logs. Now this shows the sign-ins from everybody. That includes MFA. So if there's been an MFA failure or if someone's done an MFA authentication, it shows you that in this report. Dwayne, I've only set you up once there, so it shouldn't be too much, mate. So I'm going to hand over to you, buddy. All right?
Yep, I'm all right. I'm good. So I'm in the user portal. So I am. If you go in, just to kind of bring everybody in, Azure Active Directory, you go to users, and here is you have all your users here. Here in password reset is where you set up your self-service password reset, and you can see. So as I was stating, September 30th, there's going to be a combined registration experience for MFA and SSPR enabled for all tenants. I can enable it now if I want. I don't want to do that necessarily at this point because that is out of the scope of the current exam. But here we've got self-service password reset. I have it enabled for all users. If you only want selected users, you can certainly do that. And restrict and do some restriction there. Here we've got our authentication methods then, and here for password reset, how many methods are we going to require for reset? And here we have those methods that Shabaz was talking about. We have our mobile app notification, our mobile app code, email, mobile phone. I don't have security questions in mine at all. Mainly because I use mobile app notification or the app code primarily myself. But if I do security questions, here's those typical security questions. You can put a minimum number that is required to register, and then generally three at a minimum are going to be required to answer, or all five, and those can be customized or predefined questions. You can see we've got custom or predefined. What city was your mother born? What's your mother's maiden name? Your maternal grandmother's first and last name. It may think, why is it always your maternal grandmother's name and not your paternal? Because that's going to be the same last name that you have generally is going to be the case. So keep that. If anybody's ever wondering that, and keeping you up at night. It's not going to, not going to be things about your father, because those are easier to guess because they're going to generally match yours.
I took a sip of water at the wrong time and I nearly spat it out because I laughed.
So if we go back to if we backtrack here a little bit and go back again, I'm sorry, into those authentication methods, we can set those up accordingly. Here at registration, here register users, require users to sign in, and here number of days to reconfirm their authentication information. So you can set it up to make sure that they're keeping up to date. So every 180 days, when I log into to Azure or any other Microsoft resources, it says please validate that your information is still current. That way, it's not going to cause you to be locked out. Maybe you changed your email, maybe you changed your phone, and it might cause you to get locked out. This is going to help you to do that as well. Here's your on-premises integration to enable that. In here, it's got the sync back. You can see, we got some provisioning agent. I actually, deleted and turned off the domain controller that was on premises from our previous episode. So that's why it's not detecting any kind of cloud sync taking place. Other customizations, you can put a help desk link in here. We've got other notifications. We can notify admins if somebody has reset their password, as well as notify users. So this is helpful. I've got a talk that I've done on protecting identities and modern authentication, and in that I tell a story of when my son's Microsoft account got compromised, and the only reason I knew that was because I had this notify users with a password reset, because somebody reset his password, and it went to me as an admin of the account, not to my son. He was at school at the time, so I'm like, why is a password being reset on his account? And I go in and look, and somebody a new email address, a new phone number, and all was put into to his Microsoft account. Painter's house needs painting. The identity and access book writer didn't have multi-factor authentication on my kids' accounts, so he does now, because what happened was he had his Fortnite account hacked, and somebody stole all of his skins and everything. It was a traumatic experience. It was like having your house robbed. So we got it all back, and everything was taken care of. But again, have this notification on, at least for yourself, so that even though when you reset your password, you'll know if somebody else might have hacked your account as well. And that'll get us back and circle us around to those reports that we can use to also determine what's going on in our environment. Two that we mentioned was audit logs and sign-in logs, and we'll talk later on towards the end of section 4 of this course, how all of this information feeds into those the SIM or SIEM solutions, like Microsoft Sentinel. But here we can see this is full activity. So this is updating, adding users, what's going on within your user environment. So that's what the audit logs are for. This is any activity that's taking place in Azure Active Directory. Sign-in logs is specifics to sign-in activity. So you can see, I've logged in. You can see these on-premises directory synchronization. This is that service account that was created when we put Azure AD Connect in place. So you can see those have taken place. I've got sign-in failure here. Probably just fat-fingered my password, but most of the time it's success. And you can see it's not just the Azure portal. It's I used PowerShell this morning, so I log into my account through PowerShell, the app access portal. All of that is activity is in here as well. So you can dive down into what services somebody is signing into as well. So I think that covers everything from this presentation.
Perfect. Thank you again, Dwayne. Great overview of the demo. So thank you very much. And again, that concludes the second part of this topic, which was all the sort of MFA and self-service password reset options. So we are well and truly getting into module 2 now. So thank you very much, Dwayne. I think the next one, the next, I think we've got a 3-part, 3 episodes around managing user authentication managing user authentication in Azure AD. That's going to be the next 3 episodes. So please stay tuned to that. Keep on liking, keep on commenting, and obviously make sure you're subscribing to keep up to date. All of our socials are in the description, as well as a link to Dwayne's book. Buy it; it's a great book. Follow that along while you're doing this YouTube series, and also a link to the GitHub labs as well. So again, you can follow those along as you follow Dwayne. So thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Dwayne, and up until next time. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.